Okay, so you'll all bear with me because I'm just talking straight from the heart, and I really didn't prepare. I have ideas that are just going to come out. First of all, I just need to thank everybody in the whole entire planet, because you're shaking Shemayim, and I feel it and I know it. And Bezrat Hashem, my son already has a nace and a Yeshua, and it's thanks to everybody's concerted efforts. Okay, so that's number one. I really, totally thank you 1,000,000%. Number two, I'm asking Mechila now, because I am going to be brutally honest with everybody, and I may offend people here, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm talking to myself as well and to my family as well. This is for all the women of Am Yisrael, for all the women of Am Yisrael. So please, I'm not pointing fingers. Please be meichel me if I will be brutally honest, but this has to be said, and I have the backing of Rav Don Segal. I'm not making this up. And even if I didn't have the backing of Rav Don Segal, I would say it anyway. But I do have Das Torah. Okay? So maybe I'll give you a little bit history, and then we'll talk. My son Daniel came home from yeshiva Monday night, last week, a week ago. It happened a week ago. Because they were on a tiyul, and he couldn't climb the mountain. And my son Daniel is a very athletic kid, and he can climb anything. And he was freaking out. Ima, I couldn't climb the mountain. My leg, I'm dragging my leg. Come home. Tuesday morning, I took him to Dr. Gross, and Dr. Gross said, yeah, it's a virus, big deal. But to be on the safe side, go see the orthopedist, go see the neurologist. We just want to be safe. Hashem has been with me since that second. I can't tell you what Hashgacha Pratis. Now, you know what it is to get an appointment quickly with any doctor. Okay? I picked up the phone. They said, yeah, the orthopedist just had a cancellation. Come now. And I couldn't go. I was in Milhasot. I sent Daniel by himself. Because, right, it's only a virus, right, guys? So the orthopedist took a look at him, 10 minutes, straight to the hospital. Straight to the hospital. And we went straight to the hospital, and the neurologist checked him out, and he said, you're not leaving. We have to do an MRI. And the following night, we did an MRI. And the next morning, the doctors had rounds with all the students. And, you know, they come to Daniel's bed, and they're talking about swelling in the brain. And as he's talking to all the students, the head doctor comes over, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, where's your husband? And I said, he's home, because they don't allow people in when they're doing this whole thing. They said, only I can come. He said, tell him to come right now. And he's looking at me, and I see tears in his eyes. So I said, okay, Baruch, come now. Came. He sits us down, and he says, your son has a tumor in his brainstem, and that's all he says. And I started asking him questions, because I'm a very dugri person, and he was evading every single question. And not only that, but he brought in a nurse, and she kept on going like this to me. And I'm going, okay, this is serious, but he's not telling me. What is he hiding? And he said, you know, you'll come back. We're going to have a diyun on Sunday with all the doctors, and you'll come, and we'll tell you what to do and how to do. Okay, so I already understood. I already understood that this was very, very serious. We started the whole process of, you know, talking to Benny Fisher and Refer, and, you know, a million people all over the place. And we started the process, and anybody who's been through this will understand that you don't have a second, you don't have a minute, and you're just trying to work and work and work. And so while I was working on the technical side of trying to figure out how we're going to deal with this, I was also trying to work on the spiritual side, telling everybody I saw in the streets, all the parents that put their kids on my tender, all the schools that we work with, and I knew that if the entire planet is going to daven for Daniel ben Leah, that we're not going to have to worry about anything. So that's what I was doing. Motzei Shabbos, we had an appointment with the top guy in the country that deals with this kind of tumor. And I called my kids Motzei Shabbos, and I told them, I want you to come to the house, all of you, come to the house. We're going to this appointment, and when I get back, I want you all to be there, because I have a game plan. So we went to see the specialist, and he told me, I asked him very straight out all the questions, and he said, we can't do anything. This is a diffused brain stem tumor, and there's nothing to do, and nobody survives. And I asked him how much time we had, and the whole thing. And the whole picture looked extremely grim. I came home and I said, kids, your father and I are the commanders-in-chief, and you are my soldiers, and we are in a war right now, and you're going to fight for your brother's life. You're going to turn the whole world upside down for your brother's life. And I said, the men, you know what you have to do, but we women, I'm going to tell you what to do. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to tell you what to do. And it's in the Indian of Tznius. And why do I say it's in the Indian of Tznius? The brain stem is Yesod. I hope everybody knows what Yesod is. Yesod is where life is created, where the sperm cells are created. That's Yesod. We are in the generation of Yesod. Our tafkid is to be metaken Yesod. Now, my son Yoni was at our house for Shabbos, and he said, Ima, this is Yesod. It clicked so clearly in my brain. Shabbos morning, I already had the game plan, and I went over to a good friend of mine, and she said, you know what, this all makes sense. Go for it. So I knew what I was going to tell my daughters. Now, I want you to know that I'm taking upon myself the things that I told my daughters, and my daughters are taking this upon themselves. Maybe not exactly right away, but slowly, because we're going to get there. And I don't expect everybody here to take this upon themselves, because it's very hard. It's very hard, and I know, but this is what we have to do. And if you guys can only do this much of what I ask, then it's going to make a big difference in Klal Yisrael. Let me explain. When a woman is provocative, and a man sees her for half a second, when a man sees a married woman on the street for half a second, and he thinks, oh, she's beautiful, according to some days, he's chayiv kares. Chayiv kares. Now, when a woman walks down the street and she is provocative, and a man has hirhurim, he's chayiv misa. Okay? I didn't know this. I don't know how many of you know this. But when a man has hirhurim and he can't control himself, and he has emissions that are livatala, he is chayav misa. We have it in the Torah. Parshas Bereshis, in Parshas Vayeshev, Perek Lamed Ches, Pasuk Zayin to Yud. You can look it up. Yehuda's two sons, Er ve'Onen, died for this, for emissions. You understand? You understand? For Zera Levatala. They died. This is Din Misa. If we women are so provocative, and all we have to do is, if a man sees a pinky, he gets all excited, then we are causing Misa. It's that clear. Okay? Now, please, I don't want to put the guilt trip, and I'm not putting the guilt trip, but this is the Metzias, and no Rebbetzin is going to talk like me, but I have the permission to talk like this. I have the permission to talk like this. You have to understand that all this magefa of this machla, where everybody's dying, is because of Yesod. And if we are helping the men do bad things because this is Misa, then we have to take some of the blame for it. We have to take some of the blame for it. And that's why I knew that Tznius is the cause for this machla. Now, we went for brachas this morning. We went to Rav Steinman, Rav Kanievsky, Rebbetzin Kanievsky, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, and Rav Dan Segal. And Baruch Hashem, all of them told me that the reports I got were mevutal, mevutal, mevutal. Rav Dan Segal is very close to my husband's heart. He was one of his first Talmidim, and he was my Daniel Sandik. And he said, Rav Dan said, I was the Sandik, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this. So I know that Bezrat Hashem, he fixed it. But I said, Rav Dan, I need to speak to the women of Har Nof. And he said, Okay? And I said, it's about tznius. And he said, you hit the nail on the head. Because this is exactly why we have the machla and people are dying like flies. He said, so I know that I have Das Torah behind me. Hashem brought it all down to me. I'm not a genius. Hashem just brought everything together into my head. And I said, Rav Dan, I need to talk to the women and I'm going to be brutal. Am I allowed to do this if the women are not going to be mekabel? Because I know you're not allowed to give tachacha if a person is not mekabel. And he said, you're allowed to do it. And if the women just get a little bit out of this and changed a little bit, then it's going to make such an impression in the world. So this is, I'm going to tell you what I asked my family to do. And if you guys can do it, kol habracha lachem. And if you can't, just do a little bit. A little bit. Now, my son Yoni gave me a few points that I should say before I tell you what we need to do. He says, you don't understand how Hashem is so happy when a woman is makriv herself in such a way towards tznius, because I know tznius is the hardest thing for a woman. We all want to look beautiful. But the truth is, we all have to look invisible. We all have to look invisible. And when a woman is so mitgaber on that Yetzer Hara and makes herself invisible, what this does for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beyond words. And this will save lives. And so just think about the unbelievable nachas. And Hashem knows how hard this is for us. And so when we're makriv our Yetzer Hara and our beauty and we all want to look beautiful. We do. But we have to look invisible. I'm sorry. The man, Hashem created the man the way He created the man. And there's nothing we can do about it. But we have to be as invisible as possible. So we're not causing them to do what they need to do Averis. So this is what I told my kids. I said, girls, take your shaitels off. Take your shaitels off. And they all looked at me, and I just bought a new one. And I said, so you know what? So cut it shorter. So maybe get the bangs away. Every time you're pushing the bang away, it's so sexy. Don't you see? Get the long shaitel, and it's all in my eyes because that's the style now. And every second, nobody can see anything, and they're flicking their hair away, and then the whole long shaitel is being flicked. I can't tell you how sexy that is. That is so provocative. So if you're going to wear shaitel, get the stupid bangs out of your eyes and cut them short, okay? Okay. But if you can, I will love you to pieces if you could take your shaitel off. A sidetrack. Yesterday, Yoni took Daniel to the kotel. And he was doing lots of stuff with him at the kotel. And he took him to this man, Rav Neri. Rav Neri is this little Taimani Mikubal who sits in a little hole in the old city. And Yoni became very, very close to him during his trials and tribulations all over the world. And he said, Rav Neri's going to fix Daniel. So Rav Neri sat with Daniel for a long time and told him all sorts of things that have to be done. And then Rav Neri looks at Yoni, he goes, your family needs to do a tikkun. They have to take something upon themselves. He goes, my mother took care of that already. She told all my sisters to take off the sheitlach. Do you know that Rav Neri's eyes lit up? He said, if your sisters take off their sheitlach, refuah shlema completely, there will be no zecher of this. Okay? This is what Yoni told me. Ladies, the machla will be dissolved if your sisters take off their shaitels. So right away I came back and I told my girls this, okay? I hope their shaitels will come off very soon. I hope they'll come off very soon. And I'm telling you again, I don't expect it of you. But if you do this, the bracha that's going to come down and the lives you're going to save are going to be innumerable. Innumerable. Because even the shortest shaitel today is so gorgeous that the 14-year-olds and the 15-year-olds don't know who's married anymore. When my son was 16, he said to me, he said, Ima, I don't know who's married anymore. These young girls, they're wearing sheitlach that are down to the you-know-what. And he goes, I don't know who's married anymore. It's impossible. The sheitlach are too pretty today, okay? Maybe 20 years ago, sheitel was okay. Today it's not. But again, I don't want to force anybody into anything. I'm just planting seeds. I'm planting seeds, and you guys will do what you want with it. But this, I have to say this. Okay? Number 2, and this is going to be very hard, because I think we're all nichshol in this. Tops. Okay? They have to be loose. You can't wear this on the outside and think that you're covered from head to toe and you're tsanua. Okay? My husband, who is 63 years old, okay? He's an old geezer, okay? He's not a hormonal 15-year-old. He comes home and he tells me, Leah, I cannot walk in the streets because all the women are jiggling. He can't walk in the streets. And this is a 63-year-old man whose hormones are hopefully dying. You understand? You understand what's going on. You're covered from head to toe, but every move you make, you're jiggling. And you know what that does to a man's mind? Ugh! Explosion. Please, please don't wear this on top. Wear it underneath. Wear blouses that are big. So if you jiggle, okay, you're going to jiggle, but it's not going to be so noticeable. You understand? We can't do this. We can't do this. We're driving the men up the wall. We're driving them up the wall. Okay? Number 3, skirts. Okay, I wear long skirts because I know that I'm covered whatever I do. Whatever I do, if I'm jumping, if I'm getting into the car, I'm covered. I'm covered. Okay? Today the style is short. Okay? Everybody thinks that it's okay to wear a skirt that covers the knee. Ladies, a skirt that covers the knee, and I'm going to pick up my thing here, like this. When you sit down, it's up here. And when you go like this, it's like this. And when you're putting your hands on your knees constantly to cover, do you know what that does to a man? Do you have any idea? And I want to tell you this, I know this because I'm in shidduchim. And the boys come to me and they tell me, I want the girls that's sanu. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, when she's standing and I meet her, she's standing, her skirt's below her knees. But when I take her to the coffee shop and she's sitting down, she's pulling. And she's pulling, and of course it's not going anywhere. And then she has to put her hands on her knees. And he goes, do you know what's going through my mind when I see this? Oh man, he's going to explode in the next minute too. Look at all the thoughts that are going. Listen, what's coming up here, for goodness sakes. You can't wear a skirt that just covers your knees. When you're sitting down, it has to come at least to the middle of your knee. Leave me alone. You understand? Number 4, high heels. And I'm going extreme and I'm going crazy, and if you can't be makabel, I understand, but I'm telling you what the optimum is. When a woman is wearing those spike heels, which are very much in style, and she's jiggling down the street, her hips are going, and she's making a loud noise with those shoes, and she's attracting so much attention. Plus the fact that when she's wearing the high heels, she's also giving that impression, okay? You know, look at me, okay? Long dangling earrings. This is all part and parcel of what we have to do, and we want to save Klal Yisrael. Everybody knows that there's a magefa. It's a magefa everywhere you hear. And everywhere you don't hear, because I want to tell you there are hundreds and hundreds of people in Harnof that you don't even know that have the machla. You don't even know about it because nobody wants to talk about it. And I want to talk about it because everybody has to hear it. Everybody has to hear it. And this is not going to stir any shidduchim. You have to understand that tznius is killing us. And I know everybody wants to be tsanua. Everybody wants to be tsanua. But you have to really, really, really work on it now. For my son's refuah, and for everybody's refuah in the whole Jewish community. And there are thousands and thousands of people in the Jewish community who are suffering. And I don't want to think that it's my fault. I don't want to think that it's my fault. I heard a story of a Goyish doctor working in a cancer ward in Brooklyn. And every single one of his patients had a Jewish name. And he went over to one woman with a Jewish name, and he said, I don't understand this. All my patients are Jewish. why don't you guys get the message? A guy, why don't you guys get the message? Hashem is talking to us so loud and clear. So loud and clear. Ladies, we have to listen. We have to start listening. We can't say, oh, this is another. We all know tznius, and I didn't really have to point out anything to you. We all know this. But we have to take it seriously, and we have to listen. Okay? Now, look, and there was one other point. Hopefully, everybody sitting here is really doing everything they can. And they're not wearing some wood in any way, and they're not. But we have daughters, and I know it's very hard, and we have sisters, and we have neighbors that maybe are not doing exactly what we want. The young girls today, and whoever's young here, I don't mean to whatever, but it's so mikubal to dress like that. It's so mikubal to dress like that because 90% of the girls are dressing like that we don't see that it's wrong. We're desensitized. We're totally desensitized. When we see it, we think it's okay because everybody's walking around like this. And how do I know everybody's walking around like this? I drive up the streets of Har Nof all day for 5-6 hours a day. And I see all the young girls walking up and down the streets. And I can tell you that I find maybe one girl the whole day who looks tsanua. One girl. So we mothers have to talk to our daughters. And I know that this is a very touchy subject. I know. And maybe some of us don't have the best relationship with our daughters. But you have to tell them like this. This causes misa. And it's all over. It's all over. God forbid a million times lo aleinu, if one of our family members got struck with the machla, and you knew that maybe you weren't tznius enough, how would you feel? You have to present it to your kids like this. You can't tell them, okay, wear this, wear that. You have to tell them this causes misa. Rav Don Segal said this causes misa. This is the root. This is the root of the machla. This is the root why Am Yisrael is suffering so much. Hashem is sending messages after messages after messages, and we don't get it. So I'm telling you, get it. Not get it for my son because I want you to save my son. Bezrat Hashem is already saved, but we still need to daven. And I'm begging you to get it for my son, but I'm begging you to get it for your own families because it's going to be a shmira for every single one of you and for every single one in Klal Yisrael.